In the midst of the vast ocean, far beyond the known routes, there was a mysterious island that sailors called the Island of the Forgotten Moon. It was said that when the full moon rose above its horizon, its light disappeared, leaving the island in total darkness. Anna, a young archaeologist, was part of an expedition that set out to explore this island. Her team found ancient maps that showed the ruins of an ancient civilization that supposedly existed on the island. "These are just fairy tales," said the ship's captain as they approached the site. "We all know there are too many misfortunes associated with this island. I wouldn't take any chances if I were you." But Anna and her colleagues weren't listening. They were sure they could solve the mystery that had been stirring minds for centuries. When the ship anchored off the coast, everything looked calm. White sand, dense rainforests, and a strange silence that hung in the air. Anna was the first to set foot on the island. Her boots sank into the soft sand and the wind seemed to whisper her name. She looked around, feeling a slight chill run across her skin despite the hot sun. "It's beautiful, but it's too quiet," Max, her partner, remarked. "You can't even hear the birds." The team began to set up camp at the edge of the forest, but something drew Anna deeper into the island. She noticed something glistening among the trees, as if the rocks were reflecting light. "I'll go look around," she said, and without waiting for an answer, she went into the forest. The farther she went, the darker it got. The trees closed in over her head, hiding the sky completely. Soon she found herself at a strange stone circle. In the center lay a massive slab covered in old symbols that reminded her of ancient runes. Anna pulled out her phone to take a picture, but as soon as she raised the camera, the screen went out. Everything around her became cold, as if day had suddenly changed to night. Then there was a soft sound, as if someone had whispered her name. "Who's there?" she shouted, but there was no answer. Leaves began to fall from the branches of the trees, though there was no wind. Anna felt the ground beneath her feet shake slightly. When she looked at the stone slab, it began to glow with a dim, pale light, reminiscent of the moon's glow. A figure appeared from the shadows behind the slab, tall, thin, with eyes that glowed with the dead light of the moon. "You came too close," said a voice, hoarse, as if from another reality. Anna took a step back, but her foot hit something hard. She looked down and saw a human skull half buried in the ground. The darkness around it was thickening. Anna froze. The figure with the dead light in its eyes seemed real and ghostly at the same time, as if its outline trembled in time with the barely audible sounds. "Who are you?" Anna asked, her voice trembling. "I am the one who watches," the figure replied without moving. "You shouldn't have touched the light of the moon." "I didn't touch anything. I'm just exploring," she exclaimed. But the figure slowly raised its hand and pointed at the slab. The dim glow on the stone intensified, and Anna noticed that the symbols began to move, forming new patterns. Suddenly one of the patterns resembled an eye that opened and looked directly at her. Anna, struggling to catch her breath, stepped back and ran, unable to see the road. Branches clung to her clothes and whispers echoed from every corner. "You can't leave," came from every corner. She sprinted out of the forest to the camp, where she was met by her worried colleagues. "Where have you been?" Max asked. "We were about to look for you." There's something there," Anna said, panting. "Are you sure you didn't overheat in the sun?" Another member of the team asked with a sneer. "I saw the figure, and the light from the rock," she answered firmly, but her words were only met with skeptical looks. Max looked at her more closely. "If you found something, we should explore it. Show us where to go." Anna hesitated at first, but then agreed, feeling she needed to prove she wasn't crazy. When they returned to the place where Anna had seen the stone circle, they found that the slabs were gone, and their place was only bare earth. "Are you sure this is the right place?" Max asked, looking around. "Yes, it's definitely here," Anna exclaimed. But no sooner had they begun to survey the area than the sky suddenly darkened. The moon, which was about to rise, disappeared from sight, and everything fell into total darkness. The silence around them was so oppressive that every sound of their footsteps echoed. "We have to get back to camp," Max said, but there was a long, eerie howl, as if the island itself had come to life. "What was that?" one of the crew whispered fearfully. Anna looked toward the forest. Something was moving in the shadows. They were not alone. "We have to leave now," she said, but her voice was drowned out by the sudden whispering. "They're coming." Figures began to emerge from the forest, tall, thin, with empty eyes that glowed with a pale light. The team rushed back towards the camp, but the figures moved behind them, sliding silently on the ground. Their eyes, filled with moonlight, followed their every move unflinchingly. Anna felt the air around her become dense and cold. When they reached the campground, it appeared that all of their gear was gone. Tents, equipment, nothing was left. "This is impossible," Max shouted. "We're trapped," whispered Anna. Behind them came the sound of footsteps. When they turned around, the figures were standing in a row, as if blocking their way to the sea. "The island does not let go of those who have touched its secrets," came a familiar voice. It was the figure Anna had seen first. "What do you want?" she shouted. "Give back the light you took," he replied. Anna glanced at her hand and realized with horror that there was a small glow of moonlight burning on her palm that she hadn't even noticed before. Anna stared at her palm where the tiny glow of moonlight was pulsing. It was as if it was alive, vibrating slightly and spilling a strange warmth all around. Max and the rest of the team froze, looking at her. "What is it?" Max whispered, taking a step back. I don't know," Anna replied, her voice trembling. The blank-eyed figures stood motionless, but their gazes seemed to penetrate straight to the soul. "Bring him back before it's too late," the central figure said, her voice as hoarse as the wind through the cracks of an old ruin. Anna gripped her hand tighter, as if protecting the light. How can I bring him back?" The figure stepped closer. Anna could make out the details now. Its body was as if carved from gray stone, and its movements resembled a mechanism running on worn gears. "The light of the moon belongs here," the creature said. "You took it, touching an ancient power. It feeds on your life. If you don't get it back, you will disappear, and with you, everything you know." "What is this place? Why is this light so important?" Anna shouted out. The creature raised its hand, and the forest around it came to life. The trees stirred, and the ruins of an ancient city began to rise from the ground. Columns, arches, ancient altars all looked as if they had been swallowed by time. "This was our home," the creature whispered, "until the light of the moon was locked away. We became its prisoners when time stopped." Max stepped forward. "Wait, if Anna gets the light back, can we leave?" The figure nodded. "But she has to give it back willingly, accepting the consequences." "What consequences?" Anna asked, feeling the cold creeping under her skin. "You will stay here," the creature replied. "The island will take you as the keeper of the new cycle." Max grabbed Anna's arm. "No, we'll find another way out. It's not your fault." But Anna knew she had no choice. She could feel the light inside her growing stronger, taking her strength. Every second of delay brought them closer to disaster. "How can I get him back?" she asked. The figure pointed to an eminence that appeared among the ruins. There stood a stone altar covered with glowing runes. "Put the light on the altar, then the cycle will end and the moon will illuminate the island again." Anna looked at Max and the other team members. "I have to do this," she said firmly. Max tried to stop her, but Anna broke free and headed for the altar. As Anna approached the altar, her body became light, as if she was already beginning to fade away. She raised her hand and the light from her palm shimmered onto the surface of the altar. The runes flashed, filling the entire space with a dazzling glow. Anna felt her feet lift off the ground and the coldness enveloped her from all sides. "Anna," Max shouted, but her voice was no longer audible. The figures with empty eyes began to dissolve, turning into streams of light that returned to the moon. The island lit up, and the moonlight became bright and warm again. When the glow faded, Anna was gone. Only the quiet whisper of the wind was a reminder that she was here. Max and the others were left standing among the ruins, realizing that Anna had saved them, but had paid for it with her life. It is said that every full moon on the island you can see her shadow wandering among the ruins. The moon shines so brightly, as if thanking her for her returned freedom. When the light completely engulfed Anna, she felt her body disappear, but her consciousness remained. It was like dissolving into an endless stream of energy. She saw the island come to life. The dark figures disappeared, the ruins were restored, and the moon finally illuminated it with its full radiance. But instead of disappearing forever, Anna realized that she had become part of that light. She didn't die, but she didn't stay the same. Upon waking up, Anna found herself on a hill overlooking the entire island. Everything looked different. The forest was green, birds could be heard singing in the air, and the ocean reflected the bright moonlight. It's not like anything I've ever seen before," she whispered, looking around. This place is like it was before the cycle was broken, came a familiar voice. Anna turned around and saw the figure that used to be one of the shadows. Now it was a man with soft facial features and eyes filled with the glow of the moon. "You changed everything," he said. "You gave up a part of yourself to regain the balance, and now you are bound to this place." Anna wanted to ask what that meant, but at that moment she felt a strange warmth in her chest. She looked at her hands and saw that her skin was radiating soft moonlight. "What has happened to me?" she asked. "You have become a guardian of light," the man replied. "Your existence is now tied to this island. You will protect it from those who want to upset the balance again." Anna noticed that Max and the other team members were still standing at the altar, stunned by what had happened. She tried to approach them, but couldn't. Her body felt like it was against an invisible wall. "They won't see you," the man said. "You have become part of the island. Now you are out of their reality." Anna watched as Max searched for her, shouting her name. His voice was filled with desperation. "I'm here, Max," she shouted, but he didn't hear her. She watched as the crew finally gathered and headed for the shore. Max kept looking back, hoping to see her, but the island was slowly pulling them back into the world they had come from. Left alone, Anna felt the island literally talking to her. She understood it without words. She knew where everything was, which entities remained and which ones left. "You are part of it now," the man said. "Your light will protect this place. But remember, balance always requires watching." The moon rose high above the horizon, illuminating the island with a soft light. Anna lifted her head and felt her soul filled with peace. She accepted her new role, knowing that her sacrifice had saved not only the island, but those who would be its next victims. Many years later, sailors told of seeing a glowing figure on a cliff looking out to sea as they sailed past the island. Some said it was the spirit of the guardian. Others claimed it was just a mirage. But those who dared to approach claimed that they felt something invisible protecting them from danger. The Isle of the Forgotten Moon was no longer cursed, but it remained forever a place where past and present were intertwined.